Just gonna wait for you guys to come on in. How's everyone doing? Happy Monday. Hopefully it's not too cold where you are, or the storm was not too bad. Star Rose, good morning. I don't have a lot of time today, but I wanted to talk about I-751s when you're filing. Basis changes. If this is your first time, welcome. My name is Aisha Chidole. I am an immigration lawyer here in Atlanta, Georgia, but I present clients all over the United States, which are family immigration matter, humanitarian-based cases, appeals, waivers, noids, and all of that good stuff. Someone says it's pretty cold in Texas. Okay. It's also really cold here in Atlanta. It didn't snow as much as we thought it would. It was ice, but because of that, they've closed everything. Like school is closed. The roads. They're basically advising people to drive safely because of all the ice. Mr. Rich Johnson says, "Good morning. The weather is great here in Orlando." Yeah, Robert and the rest of us who are freezing. Okay, so guys, I want to talk about I-751s. And this is especially for those who initially start out with a joint filing of your I-751. And if you don't know what an I-751 is, an I-751 is basically the application that you file after you've had a 2-year conditional green card. And then you file for removal of conditions on your green card to remove that 2-year condition so that you can get a 10-year green card. And so typically, normally you will file with your spouse. If you're a child and it was a parent that filed, you would file with that person asking to remove those conditions. If you are no longer eligible, typically you can request a waiver. A waiver would be one of 4 things. A waiver could be based on maybe a spouse passed away, or you and a spouse is divorced. Filed for divorce, or there's extreme cruelty and abuse, or you're going to experience extreme hardship if they don't remove the conditions. With that, you don't necessarily have to show good faith marriage, but you have to show extreme hardship. That's the most difficult one to overcome. So, but specifically, I want to talk about people who struggle with, like when you file for your joint filing, and you and your spouse are having issues, and you're just like, oh my goodness, what should I do? There is such a thing as amending your application. So meaning, even if you filed with your spouse and now you guys are divorced, you are still eligible to request a waiver based on that divorce. The mistake that I see a lot of people making, and then that's when they come to us, and that's when there's an issue, is once they're no longer eligible for a joint filing, they just keep quiet and don't do anything about it, and somehow pray, wish, and hope that they will just be bypassed for an interview so that they just don't have to worry about it. And then, or sometimes they'll go as far as being divorced and then still filing for naturalization, knowing that they are divorced. So, you guys want to make sure that you are notifying USCIS. You want to make sure that you're notifying USCIS once your status changes. So, i.e., if your case is still pending with the joint filing and then you and your spouse are now divorced, you want to notify USCIS and let them know that you're requesting a waiver of joint filing because you're now divorced, and here is proof of your divorce. You don't want to send them saying, I have a pending divorce. You want to have proof that your divorce has been finalized. The same thing applies if your spouse later becomes abusive. You want to send proof with your request for an amendment to that of abuse. Same with extreme hardship. So it's really important that you guys do this, because if you end up getting approved, let's say your interview is bypassed and you get approved and really you were divorced and you really shouldn't have been approved, what ends up happening is that they can revoke your green card at the time you apply for naturalization, saying that you misrepresented yourself, or that they weren't meant to approve you because you never notified them. So this is something that's more common than it should be. And so I just hope you guys understand that there are waivers available. The key is taking advantage of the waiver, using the waiver instead of just hoping that nobody just knows that you're divorced or you're separated or whatever the case may be. Okay. Someone is asking, how do you notify them about divorce and request a waiver? You notify them through applying to USCIS. Typically you want your receipt notice to show that you are in fact, you do in fact have a pending case. You want to write your affidavit and everything that happened, supporting evidence, and specifically state that you are requesting a waiver. Usually the contact information is going to be in your receipt. Notice somewhere on the bottom left, if your case has reached the field office, then you want to notify them at the field office. And sometimes if you've not had enough time, sometimes what we've done is we have prepared all of that and taken it to the interview. And at that time, did the explanation there. So there'll be different opportunities for you guys to do that. And this is really important because with I-751s, if your case is denied, they have to refer it to deportation proceedings. So that's why you want to do what you need to do early on, okay? I have 18 months in I-360 VAL. How many more months? I don't know your case or how many more months, but for VAL cases, you should fully expect at least 3 years in the process. Franklin says, good morning. Snow is taking over in New York and New Jersey. Sorry about that. Snowed in Maryland. I guess most of us, have snow or ice somewhere here. Okay, let's see what other questions we have here. Okay, what if you and your spouse are separated but still legally married, but you have another baby for someone else? What will happen now? Well, the answer will depend on whether or not you have a good faith marriage and why are you and your spouse legally separated as opposed to having a divorce. If you've moved on and you're having babies with other people, why are you not divorced, right? Why are you holding on to that marriage and your relationship with others? It is very specific to the case. So usually we want to screen you to understand, well, what caused the separation? Are you a victim of extreme cruelty or battery? If you're not a victim of extreme cruelty or battery, what is holding you from divorcing your spouse since you've moved on to somebody else and remarried? Understand that no matter what waiver, if you request a waiver for abuse, if you request a waiver for divorce, understand that with those two waivers or even a waiver for death, you must be able to still prove that you had a good faith marriage with your spouse. What does a good faith marriage mean? It means a genuine and legitimate marriage. I did a live last week. I want to say either last week, Wednesday, Tuesday, or Monday. I can't remember, where I literally went through, here are some examples of things people submit for good faith marriage. So you can find that to see what it is. So that doesn't change. You have to present that. The only time where it's relaxed in that is when you're able to prove extreme hardship. And understand that extreme hardship is different from hardship. Your hardship has to be extreme, meaning that it's not a normal hardship that if they deport you, you're going to have to find a job, you're going to have to find extreme hardship, that it's so extreme what is happening, that most normal people would not face this if they were in the same situation, okay? Ahmed says, I submitted my VAWA case on November 2022. I got an EAD card and many prima facie letters. What should I expect? When should I expect to get a decision from USCIS? And is there any way to inquire about my case? Thank you. Ahmed, the answer is really going to depend on what country you're from, if you're one of those with an adjudicative hold or not. If you just did it in November, then you're just about the 3-year timeline. This would be a good time. You can definitely write to USCIS. Now USCIS will allow, if you're able to do your credentials and identify yourself, you can do a phone call, even if you have a valid case, once you're able to identify yourself, to see what the status of your case is. If you are working with a lawyer, the lawyer can usually reach out to the attorney hotline just to see the status of the case or what's happening. But I suspect that you're probably going to hear something relatively soon if you're not from one of the countries with an adjudicative hold. Okay. Good morning. Does a U.S. travel ban impact marriage for a Nigerian citizen who holds a U.S. B1, B2 visa? I don't know if I understand your question. Which ban are you talking about? Are you talking about if you're outside the U.S. or inside the U.S.? So because there's no ban inside the U.S. Let's be very clear. You can adjust your status. It's on hold for a decision, but there is no ban. If you're outside the US, there's a partial ban. So clarify for me, then I can answer the question. Someone is asking what's the cost to hire you? Well, there's so many case types and so many costs depending on the case type. The best thing is to schedule a consultation. It's $150. We'll go over what you're eligible for, and then we'll go over the costs and also the payment plans that we have available once we know. Okay? Are they still giving out green card for marriages? Of course, they're still giving out green card for marriages. Why wouldn't they be? They are still giving out green card for marriages. Again, depends on what country you're from, whether you're applying from outside the US or whether you're applying for green card inside the US, but they are definitely still giving out green cards. Okay. I filed for VAWA in 2023 and currently have a work permit. I'm now in a relationship. Can I divorce my abusive spouse and remarry? So here's the thing, that is a personal choice and a personal decision. Personally, I've said this time and time again on this live. If I was eligible for something on my own, I will not rely on somebody else to make me eligible for something, especially if that person can change their mind or you guys can decide we're going to break up and then the person says, I'm not helping you file. So personally, if it was me personally, I will not remarry someone else. You can be in the relationship with the person, but I will not remarry them until they make a decision on my VAWA. That said, if you want to do it, you're entitled to do it. You know, nobody's holding you or stopping you from doing that. But understand that the minute you marry that person, your VAWA case is no longer valid. So your VAWA case will have to be withdrawn and you will have to refile with that person. Now, some of the things that you're going to have to take into consideration is that you refiling that person means that one, you're relying on that person and hoping that that person doesn't disappoint you. Number two, you most likely will get a 2-year conditional green card. Number three, you most likely will be looking at, depending on what country you're from, what adjudicative hold that you might be dealing with. So do with that information what you will. I'm from Nigeria and I got naturalized. Can I request for my passport without any issue? Absolutely. Once you're naturalized, you're a U.S. citizen. So you are now a U.S. citizen. Congratulations. Go request for your passport. I haven't received any updates of my waiver from Joint Filing for 1 year. What should I do now? Nothing. That's a normal timeline. It takes about 2 years, which is why they give you a 48-month extension when you file for I-751. Can a credit card debt cause you to be deported? No. I'm from Nigeria and currently residing in the US. Does the ban affect me from filing for a marriage-based green card? There is no ban in the United States. So if you are from Nigeria, filing for adjustment of status in the United States, you can file for adjustment of status in the United States. There will still be a delay, though, in them reviewing your case, but there's absolutely no ban. The ban is only for outside of the United States. And I have all this information on my page, so you should be able to see that there. Okay. Attorney, can you all support with I-751 post the interview? We're in a genuine marriage with 2 kids. We had a consultation with one of the attorneys from your firm. What support are you looking for? I'm not sure because I don't know who you are and what you qualified for the consultations. If you've had the interview, what is the issue? Is it just you're trying to figure out when they're going to make a decision, or what is it? If you are from a banned country, but you have a VAWA case, will it be put on hold? Also, Tanzania, if you are from one of the countries with an adjudicative hold here in the United States, there is going to be a delay in the process. I heard this from the grapevine, so I'm not very, very sure this information is true. So take this with a grain of salt. In fact, maybe I shouldn't even say it because I don't know if this is true, but I mean, I heard it through an ILA listserv, but basically they're saying that sometime in March. They are going to have directives of how they want to review the cases with adjudicative hold. But again, guys, this is literally speculative. You know me, I literally need to see things in writing from the governing authority to be able to really give you. So, I mean, while they had said April, it seems that by March we might know something. But again, I'll keep you posted. Like I said, our clients are still getting interviewed. It's 50-50 though. Like, where some of our clients that have this adjudicative hold, they're getting interviewed and USCIS would say, we'll still, like, we call and say, well, are you guys canceling the interview or should they attend the interview? And they say attend the interview. And, they'll tell them, we're recommending for approval. But again, until we know when the adjudicative hold is removed for them to recommend for approval, I can't really give you a timeline. But if you are in the US, you should definitely be filing for adjustment of status if you're eligible. There's no ban here in the United States. Is it safe to travel with real ID if you don't have a criminal record? Yes, it is. All right, guys, I got to jump off. I didn't have a lot of time today. But if you'd like to schedule a consultation, call our office. It's 407-995-6567. You can also send a WhatsApp to, we have another phone number, which I always forget. It's 678-325-1037. Or you can send a WhatsApp to 404-333-8751. I hope you guys have an amazing Monday, and I'll be back on live tomorrow at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. All right, guys. Bye.